whether you've been following our adventures or new to the show, Katie and I have been, we just came off of 5 months in Europe and UK. And so last time we had a show, we were in Southwest France, and that was not very long ago. But life happens, and my stepfather passed a few weeks ago. In fact, I published a eulogy of sorts to him a few weeks ago. You can see that on the YouTube channel. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I have been called west, back to the States, and back to California, and back to my hometown of Chico, California. And let me just tell you that it is a little bit weird being in my hometown without a specific end date. I mean, the last couple of times that I stayed here more than 4 days, I was just like, I got to get out of this place. Um, there's something about being in your hometown that it kind of incites authenticity and at the same time challenges it because there's something so familiar, so natural, being in the environs and the air, the smells, the resonance of the earth is so natural to my physiology. And so that kind of incites authenticity, but then there's a challenge to it because there's these old energies and it's really not much of an issue anymore. But for years, for decades, frankly, I would feel these old energies kind of tugging at me when I would come home. And I'd be like, no, that's not who I am anymore. But either way, I'm incited to say, I in order to kind of get rooted in who I am now, I'm incited to say something along the lines of, "Hello and welcome to the Evolutionary. My name is David Knox, and I am so excited to have you here. By the way, I'm still your host, and our guest today is Genevieve Gonzalez. Genevieve, so good to have you on the show today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
Yes, and thank you
Excited.
for we're honored, and we'll talk about you and your um, all of your amazing qualifications and the work that you do coming up very soon. But just to set expectations, I'm going to share your bio with some people, with people, so that they know who they're dealing with. And then we are going to go into a segment called Good News and Fresh Perspectives, and then we'll have the actual interview proper. And after that, we will have a some time for group discussion and Q&A, and possibly an activity led by yourself. And so if you are on the call with
Mm.
us, which we have a very nice contingent amassing, um, hang on, get some questions ready, and you're going to have an opportunity to do that in probably about 40 minutes from now. So your bio. Genevieve is a licensed holistic psychotherapist, board certified hypnotherapist, neuroshamanic medicine practitioner, and the founder of Modern Mind Medicine. She specializes in resolving the painful effects of trauma, heartbreak, and grief through utilizing the power of intention, transformational speech, and gentle hypnotic processes that activate the subconscious and restorative, aka parasympathetic nervous system. Through her sessions, she creates a safe and comfortable space for people to connect with the healing potential of their own body and mind through bridging the medicine of ancient wisdom with the power of modern day emotional healing. Yes, that's why you're on the show. And we're going to get into
Thank you.
that. But first, let's get into Good News and Fresh Perspectives, which is a segment that we like to start the show with. And in Good News and Fresh Perspectives, we are sharing things that give intelligent people a rational basis to have great expectations for humanity. And so, my question to you, Genevieve, is do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
Go first. You're up.
Yeah, give
Let's
you a
do
little
it.
break. So,
Cool.
well, I was really excited yesterday because I found an article, of course, very close to my heart. It involves cacao. And it was very recently that the British Medical Journal published research that associates 5 servings of dark chocolate a week creates a 21% decrease in type 2 diabetes. And this research, they included 34 years of data and 192,000 participants. So that's pretty big.
That is
And
significant,
they,
statistically significant.
right. So I don't know if I've seen a study this big, but the participants who consumed dark chocolate, which is 70% or more of pure cacao, so not the milk chocolate, um, they had the 21% associated risk reduction of developing type 2 diabetes. But if what makes this more significant is that if they put them up against a group who didn't consume any chocolate at all, there was still a 10% reduction of type 2 diabetes risk. And then that risk actually reduction increased 3% every week that they consumed the dark chocolate. So the longer that you consumed it, so dose dependent, then the risk reduction actually increased. And why this is so exciting for me is because it, I think, is going to bridge a gap of us studying more of the benefits of cacao medicine. It's becoming so popular now. It's something I personally work with. Like I said, it's very close to my own heart, and pun intended, as cacao is very good for the heart. So, um, so this is really exciting to me. And then through that research, I actually found another little bit of information that I'd like to share.
Yeah.
There's a researcher in Zurich, Switzerland, who's actually found that you can make a sugar paste from the remnants of the cacao pod. Because right now, the only part that's being used of a cacao pod to make chocolate are the beans.
Yes.
That's kind of like us taking an apple and taking the seeds out and then tossing the apple. You know, there's a lot of waste there and a lot of methane gas that gets produced when that waste is decomposing. So what this researcher has found is we can use the parts of the pod to make a sugar, which then could be used to make the chocolate. And then it would keep the production in the indigenous farmers, the cultures that are actually growing cacao. And a lot of the places that cacao naturally grows are um, developing countries. So this way, this will help to increase employment and keep the production local. So I thought that was pretty exciting.
Right. Bring more of the
Mm.
value adding activities in the country so that the more of the money of the actual end product goes to country.
Right.
I love that. And this is close to my
So,
heart too because I I consume quite a bit of cacao. In fact, I'm on a double ceremonial dose right now. Thank you very
oh.
much. And I won't be going to bed anytime soon, let's just say.
No, you won't.
And I've been, yeah, so I'm on a kick to easily do 5 a week, maybe more like 9 or 10. Anyway,
Yeah.
and also, cacao, if you get just straight unsweetened cacao, you don't have to put sugar in it. You can buzz it up with
Mm.
dates, you can use honey, you can use organic maple
Mhm.
syrup, like whatever you want, right? And it's
Mhm.
delicious.
Yes, I love to use maple syrup.
Yeah,
So
me too.
maple syrup, a little bit of cayenne, cinnamon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Today I threw some raw walnuts and dates and a little bit of honey and coffee into
Oh,
into my
and coffee.
Vitamix. Into my Vitamix with a block of raw cacao from Ecuador, and it is beautiful.
Oh, that sounds
Oh, it's
delicious. But you're
just
definitely not sleeping anytime soon.
decadent, and no, yeah, it'll be 2 o'clock in the morning. Cool. So my share has to do with a company called MYCL, and they are it's a company that was founded by some childhood friends living in Indonesia that were looking for a viable solution to replace leather. And what they looked at was the technology that is used to make tempeh. And tempeh, is the soy product.
Yeah.
And tempeh is made, I actually didn't know this. Tempeh is made by taking soybeans and infusing them, setting them into a substrate of mycelium, which is basically
Oh, I
mushroom
didn't know that.
roots, right? I
Yeah.
didn't know that either. And that's what tempeh is. And so they said, well, maybe we can do that with some other stuff and actually make some sort of usable materials out of it. And so what they're using is the bio waste from palm plantations, which is pretty cool because they palm plantations in Indonesia and other places, they make a lot of bio waste.
Hmm.
And what they generally do with that bio waste is they burn it. And burning it is an atrocious thing to do for the ecology because it not only sets free a lot of carbon into the atmosphere, but it also puts a lot of smoke and toxins into the atmosphere that are harmful for the local population. But there's so much of it that oftentimes it blows across and affects other areas of Southeast Asia, you know. So if if we can find something else to do with that, that would be
Hmm.
amazing. And if we find
Yeah.
something else to do with it, this displaces leather. uh, Cows are very hard on the environment. They produce a lot of carbon through their methane emissions, and so if and also it's a little more humane to eat something that was made with a bioproduct and mycelium roots than it is something that we murder to take its skin. Anywho,
Yeah. Yeah.
commentary. So that is my good news, and I think that's wonderful. It's a very durable product. They make something that replaces leather, and they've gone after this because evidently the fashion industry is one of the most ecologically destructive industries on the
Hmm.
planet, and so that would be something that would be fantastic if that takes hold. And a lot of people see this and they say, well, yeah, but what does it cost to produce, and it's never going to compete and all of that stuff. And I say, well, there's a lot of things that could impact that. Legislation could impact that if we start producing legislation that, for instance, might tax something for its carbon footprint, then leather starts to go up in terms of how much it costs to produce and making other things more competitive. Also, humans are amazing. If we focus on developing a technology, then we can do so to the point to where it is cost effective to do. So I'm very excited for that. It's just one of so many things that are harbingers of a brighter future. And
Hmm.
that's good news,
And another example of how mycelium is helping humanity.
right? Is there anything that it can't
Yeah.
fix? I mean, it eats oil spills. It's amazing. Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's get right into it. So, one of the very first things on your CV is that you're a holistic psychotherapist.
Hmm. Yes.
What is the difference between a holistic psychotherapist and a psychotherapist?
Great. Great question. So, a psychotherapist, we might call a traditional therapist, um, they're going to be more looking at assessment of the individual. They might do more psychoanalysis where the person is talking and they're looking at things maybe from that person's history or childhood and assessing it and analyzing it and then saying, okay, well, maybe this is related to this and making those connections. And they're going to be typically looking at more diagnosis and symptom management, kind of like in our traditional medical field as well.
Hmm.
So it's symptom management through medication, surgeries, things like that, where the holistic perspective is looking at the individual as a whole. So not just, a brain walking around the legs, but also it's the mind, it's um, the spirit, but also the physical body. And how does all of that interact and then is causing what the person is feeling or thinking, and then also looking for the root cause of that. So I might be asking somebody about their nutrition, which doesn't typically happen with a traditional therapist. I know when I was trained in getting my master's to become a therapist, I wasn't taught anything about nutrition. So, so I'm definitely going to be looking at that because sometimes if the physical body isn't feeling well, how can the person be mentally feeling well? A lot of people who are really tired and then they say, I'm depressed. It's like, well, what's going on in the physical body? Maybe it's actually there's something going on physically that's making you feel tired. And then, of course, if you're tired, you're not going to be, feeling like going for a hike or feeling like doing these things that are good for you. So through that, I'm going to be looking at all of those systems and how they interact.
That's
So,
that's a powerful notion, and I think that we see this kind of blossoming into this cultural awareness. This idea that, well, first of all, this is the thing that ancient traditions have known always is that there is no separation of mind, body, and spirit. But then, in that vein, the idea that some of the maladies of the mind and some of the emotional patterns that are problematic for us sometimes have their origin just straight physical. It's
mhm,
coming right out of the physical body. I've had experiences like this where I've healed something internally, physically, and it changed the way I felt, or I identified something that felt like an emotion, but it once it went away, it was kind of background noise, and it went away because something changed in my body. And sometimes people get things stuck in their body, and the emotion actually comes directly from that, and it can be moved through, and it goes away.
Right.
Anyone who's suffered from chronic pain can tell you that it can really mess up your life, right?
Hmm.
Depression, anxiety, anger, all of these things can come out of that. So that's very exciting. Okay, next question. So we've had a few guests who are healers of sorts who fuse disparate healing modalities to achieve synergistic effects. Christina Concevelos does something like
Hmm.
this. Dolly Grace, sometime back, she's been on the show a couple times. Her it also goes by Dina Justice. She does this. You could even make the case that Amy Takaya does this. She does Hannah somatics, but there's definitely aspects that she employs that come from other modalities. So fusing modalities, physical, mental, and from physical, mental, and emotional healing, from my perspective, seems like it's gaining in popularity. Do you agree with this? And if so, what do you think is driving this trend?
I do agree, absolutely. Especially, I would say, over the past 4 years, especially, but it has been
Mhm.
gaining in popularity. And I think a big part of that, one is that it's just a natural evolution of medicine, because we're seeing that also in physical medicine. And because there's more information available, and I think that, in my opinion, the pandemic really brought to our awareness how many people needed help, how many people were wanting to address their emotional stressors, their mental health. And then through that, now we have way more platforms that have been developed. We have, I think, more access because of teletherapy. And
Mhm.
so we're seeing that people need to get better. And just because of the evolution of our world, maybe the old ways aren't getting results as quick, or we are kind of living in a faster paced world. So people are like, okay, I need to feel better now. What do we do? And so I think healers are looking for what works. And then also they're going through their own healing journey and they're saying, hey, this thing didn't work for me. And then they have to branch out and they find this other thing that works. And so they bring that into their work as well. And so there's a lot of focus now on this mind body connection, I think more than we've had previously,
Mhm.
because we're looking to be more free, have more energy, um, find more connection to ourselves spiritually. And so I think that's driving healers to find what that is. Also, because there are a lot of courses going online after the pandemic, a lot of healers that were having these smaller in-person gatherings or maybe a smaller community online, then all of a sudden they weren't able to do that. So they had to broadcast everything online. So now it's given access to people seeing these things and they're saying, hey, I want this. I want some of Joe Dispenza's work. What is that? Or the increase in meditation being used as well. I think meditation used to be seen as kind of this kind of woo-woo taboo thing, only the Buddhists did it. But now, Tony Robbins talks about it and he's got a huge audience. So if he's talking about meditation, then people are talking about mind-body connection, getting our mind in tune with our body and our spirit. And so people are now opening up to more of that, which now is increasing that demand.
Yeah, I love it, and I think you're right. And it comes from uh, the revisiting of the idea that of holistic healing in general, and that you don't heal the mind separate from the body, separate from the spirit. It's impossible. And so, in order to look at it holistically, I think healers in general are willing to experiment on themselves. And with the
Forced.
advent of the information age and the kind of forcing function of the pandemic, it's given them a lot of ideas of what to use. And so I think that's what I've kind of seen is that healers are kind of out in front of this because they want to know what works and they're willing to try it on themselves. And then as it has traction with themselves and they go to their clients and and use it in their practice. And it's really interesting. Our entire culture seems to be like a big laboratory of fusing healing modalities right now.
Right.
Speaking
Yeah,
of, okay, so let's get into the meat of it. Will you talk about the modalities that you employ and what drew you to each of them?
sure. So I like on a general framework, I like to deal with the solution focused methods. But what I mean by that is that we're going to be looking at what is it the person wants to resolve,
Hmm.
not work on. So it's a little bit different language. So if we're looking at resolving something, we're looking for a solution. And so what I have found so far to be the most beneficial is going to be hypnotherapy, rapid resolution therapy, and then the energy medicines, such as the shamanic medicines. And then recently, I've been incorporating cacao medicine, which would be considered an energy medicine and shamanic medicine as well, into
Hmm.
my practice. And what all of those have in common is intention. So when you have an intention that you're wanting someone to be free from something, bring something in, change a limiting belief, shift a trauma or heartbreak, then you have a direction that you're going. So, did you have a question on that?
No, go ahead.
Okay. But but yeah, those are all my modalities I'm using.
Okay, so I haven't heard of rapid resolution therapy. Can you talk about
Mm,
that real quick?
yes. So rapid resolution therapy is it's a form of hypnotherapy. It was developed by Dr. John Connolly, and it uses a lot of transformational speech. So that's speech that gets people into a trance state and accessing the subconscious, looking to cause a shift from where the emotions are actually being generated, not where they're feeling them. So a lot of times when people are in talk therapy, or a lot of times when people are trying to overcome a situation on their own, they're using the same space of mind that they're feeling the emotion or they're feeling the issue, but it's not being generated from there. So it's being generated from the subconscious or another area of the mind,
Okay.
maybe the limbic system where emotions are generated. And so rapid resolution therapy has a specific process and speech that helps to access the subconscious mind.
Okay.
So, and there's some basis of Ericksonian hypnosis in rapid resolution therapy, some neurolinguistic programming that might be used as well, even some elements of brain spotting or eye movements
Hmm.
that might be used as well. And typically, in traditional rapid resolution therapy, the person can be seen for one session
Hmm.
and get a shift.
Cool. That would be amazing. We all want that.
Yes.
Um, so one of the other methodologies you talked about is the shamanic healing, and you and I talked about your story before. I'd like you to tell us how you came to that, but also I'd like to hear more about shamanic healing in general, because I think for most people, it used to be for me that it was a bit of a black box, right? So what is it? What is the experience of the one receiving shamanic healing? And then what is the one who's facilitating that healing? What are they actually doing?
Hmm. So, so like I said, you're always having an intention. And so indigenous cultures throughout time have all had some type of medicine person in the tribe that people will go to, and they will usually be healing the person's spirit. So they're saying what part of the spirit has become blocked, and they'll be looking of how to reopen that. And some shamanic practitioners might use plant medicine. So I'm working with cacao, that would be considered a plant medicine that I'm working with. Some will specialize in certain processes like a soul retrieval, for instance. So in shamanic medicine, there's a practice where if somebody has experienced a trauma or a heartbreak that may be a part of them that was available at that time, maybe was hurt and then left the soul. And so what a shamanic practitioner might do is go into somewhat of a trance state or a meditative state, or while they're talking to that person, and then they call it a shamanic journey.
Okay.
And it's best way to describe it would be somewhat like a meditation,
Hmm.
where you're seeing or sensing what aspect of that person is ready to come back, the part that might have left at the time that they experienced a trauma. And so as we bring that back, then they receive that power, or we might hear about power animals. That's another pretty well-known concept from shamanic medicine. So a power animal is an animal that will give you its medicine or its characteristics. Let's use a jaguar for example. A jaguar, if you think of a jaguar, they're pretty fearless. They walk in the dark. They walk without fear in the darkness.
Hmm.
And they're very, um, they know who they are, right? You
Hmm.
don't mess with them, you know? So
Hmm.
someone might need that energy, someone that's maybe felt like they've lost their confidence or went through a situation where they were scared, bringing that energy in might help them. So for myself, me working with the cacao medicine, so I'm working with the spirit of the cacao, which is in Mayan culture and the cultures that are using cacao medicine is known as a female spirit, and she
Hmm.
helps to open the heart.
Hmm.
And you'll set an intention with the cacao, and the way the cacao is prepared is with a special ceremony where there might be indigenous songs that are played. You're giving thanks. And as you're giving thanks to the spirit of the cacao, now you can take her into your body after you set an intention, and she fuses in with your blood and then opens your heart space and can begin to move that energy to receive what it is that you've intended.
Okay. Um,
Or, yeah,
yeah, can we go back to the shamanic journey piece a little bit? So if you say in a soul retrieval, if you're doing a shamanic journey, would you, as the healer, would the shaman do a journey and go do something in that journey to bring back the peace, or would you guide the the, the client or the patient to through their own journey where they go and do the retrieval?
it could be either one, depending on the practitioner.
Okay. So
So,
this brings us to or brings us back to part of the original question was, um, can you share how you came to or the shamanic healing?
yes. So, like most healers, we go through what's called the wounded healer, and we have our own experience that then kind of forces us to seek out some type of resolution for ourselves. So, for myself, I was traditionally trained, went to school to be a traditional therapist, and you have to accrue licensing hours before you actually become a licensed therapist. So during that time, you usually end up working somewhere that you're not necessarily lined up with for where you want your career to go. So I ended up working in a psychiatric hospital for about
Mhm.
6 years right out of school. And that experience, while it was something I didn't want to do, I actually said I didn't want to end up there, but it actually really did change my life and put me on the trajectory I am now to be exposed to these healing methods. So from working there, you're surrounded by patients who are persistently severely mentally ill, so schizophrenic, um, yeah, suicidal, very lots of drug use and things like that in there. So it can be kind of a dark place. So when I was working there, I wasn't having any spiritual practices. I wasn't protecting myself whatsoever.
Hmm.
I was just kind of going about day to day and unconscious, I guess you would say. I wasn't conscious at the time. I was just kind of going through the motions. And so while I was working there, I noticed that I started to have thoughts that weren't mine. I had low energy. I just didn't feel like me. I was having thoughts. To be honest, I would have thoughts of suicide or thoughts to just drive my car into the side of the wall. And while I was driving, I was like, that's not me. But I knew it wasn't me. It was almost like I was hearing something. And I went through a period as maybe a lot of social workers do. I don't know, where I was drinking a lot of alcohol. And it was to a point where I couldn't control it. I would have a sip and it was like, okay, you're that's it. You're not stopping for the rest of the night. And I would see photos of myself and my eyes. I was like, that's not me. So it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
And so, but I didn't really know, what to do at the time. But through working with some other holistic healers, working for a supplement company where I was exposed to shamanic healers, to chiropractors, acupuncture, people in the alternative healing realm, somebody introduced me to shamanic medicine. And I was just telling them what I was going through. And they said, oh, you need an energy extraction. And I didn't know what it was, but I said, yes, yes, I do. I was like, whatever it is. So they linked me up with a woman in Sedona who did a remote session with me over the phone.
Hmm.
And I've never heard of any of this stuff.
Okay.
So I just knew I didn't want to feel the way I felt anymore. So I get on the phone with this woman, and she's never talked to me in my life, and she keeps coughing, and she can't talk to me. And she says, I can't work with you. She's like, you're covered. You need a depossession. And I'm like, what? A
Covered in
depossession?
what?
She didn't tell me at the time,
Okay.
but basically, I was covered in energies, whatever we want to call them, entities, they're sometimes called, just negative energy. I was covered in things I had picked up from working in the hospital because I wasn't doing anything to protect myself. I was just going in there unconsciously, not um, not keeping my own health or my own vibration at a good level because I didn't
Hmm.
really know about that back then. So, but she didn't tell me at the time. She just said, you're covered. I can't work with you. You need a depossession. And I was like, okay, I'm pretty scared because in my upbringing, I was brought
You're
up
thinking
Catholic. So
exorcist or
I
something
am,
like
I'm
that.
thinking I need an exorcism. I'm
Hmm.
possessed. But she's like, well, lay down on the ground. Don't cross your legs. Don't cross your arms. Make sure you're laying flat. I'm going to call you back in 30 minutes. You got it? And I'm like, what? And she's like, oh, you're good? I'm like, click. Like,
Like,
okay. All right. So I did it. And during what was going on for me, so this is kind of to answer your question, what's going on for the person as they're receiving these types of energy healings, it's usually pretty pleasant. So for me, I was seeing a purple light and I felt very relaxed, but I did feel some pulling, just kind of nothing painful, just some really light pulling from my body.
okay.
And then she called me back about 30 minutes later and I felt different. And then she was able to do a session with me where she kind of told me some things, gave me some practices to put into place to keep myself protected. Smudging was one of them. I'm
Hmm.
remembering now. Smudging was one of them. I didn't smudge before that.
Hmm.
Using smoke from sacred plants that have medicine to cleanse and protect
Hmm.
our energy, like sage and cedar. So I
Hmm.
began putting that into practice before work and after work, and it made a huge difference. But after that one session with her, I was completely different. And so I said, okay, there's something to this. And when I see something that works that well, I want to learn it.
So you were open to it. Obviously, it's not like you had a belief system that it was even part of, but you were open to it. Do you think that it matters if someone has a strong belief for or against the efficacy of this type of practice? In other words, if they go in and they're like, this shit doesn't work, is it probably not going to work?
Well, I'm thinking if they're going in thinking this shit isn't going to work, they're probably not going to go in.
Hmm. Right.
It's unlikely, but there does have to be an openness to it. I feel.
Okay.
But I think if this is going to come across your path, or if you have an interest, that usually means it's for you.
Hmm.
It's like it's a calling almost.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for that. One question I have is, in your practice, what is the most dramatic turnaround or shift that you've seen in a client,
Mhm.
and what were the modalities you were using?
Yeah. So this was a few years ago. I had a woman who the modalities I used was rapid resolution therapy and some energy healing as well, because they all work really well together. And she had gone through a trauma. Um, it was actually a rape that she had gone through 20 years prior, I want to say. And the perpetrator had been caught, and some guy had showed up, a policeman or someone showed up at her door and said, "Hey, we've caught the guy. We need you to testify in court." And it's been 20 years. So she developed a stutter because she was going to have to testify in court. And she was working a job where she actually had to go over an intercom system in the building. And so she had to go on disability because of this stutter. So I met with her one time for probably maybe 3 hours. And we went through a trauma resolution process using rapid resolution therapy. And I was using some of the shamanic energy medicine as well. Um, and after that 3 hours, I remember we were in some process where this is when I was seeing people in person. So had a head in my hand I was kind of holding because
Hmm.
she was in a trance state. And then she came out of it and she just looked at me and she said, "It's gone." And the stutter was gone. So that was probably one of my favorite um, stories of times that I've got to experience that transformation with somebody. So
That's beautiful. That gives me
yeah.
chills. Right on. Okay. You are currently pursuing your PhD in metaphysical sciences, yes?
Yes. Yes.
Uh, so I love this, and I would say that many of us in the New Age spirit head community, if you will, I have been waiting patiently for science to drop that whole, matter is all there is BS and start really studying metaphysical phenomenon in earnest. I mean, we've seen some of it in our lifetime. I know there's a guy at Princeton that established a whole department that studies reincarnation. I know that a lot of colleges now study near-death experiences or
Mhm.
recalled death experiences. We like to call them instead, because there's so much data available on that. Also, I'm a fan of Rupert Sheldrake, who's been calling for the study of the morphic field or the morphogenetic field for decades. So, you're in it right now. So I'll ask you, what is the state of academia and the sciences right now with respect to metaphysics and what you've seen? Are we making actual progress? Are we going to see open acceptance and actual investment into the study of metaphysics? What do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's already happening. And I mean, in the 1970s, I think it was the concept of heart mind or heart brain coherence was first discovered. And
Hmm.
since then, there's been lots of research on the heart having its own cognition.
Hmm.
There's a new field of study, it's neurocardiology. And so that's going on. And then Dr. Joe Dispenza is actually doing research with UCSD. I don't know if you know that. And they're actually doing research right now on meditation and how it can decrease COVID-19.
Oh, wow.
So this is becoming really mainstream. I mean, I think that's probably one of the most pivotal combinations there, Joe Dispenza and UCSD, because they're
Yeah.
well known, they're accredited. And so I think it really is going in this direction. And then, we have Gaia on Amazon Prime and So
Right.
people are interested in this, and it's becoming more well known. And I think more and more people are going to start incorporating this into their lives. So it's going to have to.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. That's so encouraging and heartening, and exciting because I mean that's where the mystery is and the magic comes from. And also, let's peel back some layers and demystify as much as possible with the understanding that the mystery never goes away. I mean, it's an infinite onion. We can peel as much as we want. There's always going to be uh, that core of mystery
Mhm. A
that
new
is
layer.
right. There's always new layers because creation is just such a deep mystery. Um, but I love the idea of getting in deeper and because that will allow us to go in directions with science that will actually get us somewhere with respect to, especially with respect to healing,
Mhm.
but also with respect to in physics to free clean energy and gravitation manipulation, which can lead to hyperspeed or hyper excuse me. What do they call it? Superluminal speeds, faster than the speed of light, so that we can travel to the stars, which is important because we live on a planet. It's a very precarious place to live. So all kinds of cool things are going to be made possible if we start looking beyond matter, is what I'm saying.
Mhm. Mhm. The name of the study that Joe Dispenza is doing is Mind Over Virus,
Mind
if
over
you want.
virus. Fantastic for anyone who wants to
Yeah.
look at that. Cool. So we're getting to the point where we want to open it up to some questions. But first, let me just ask you, are you working on anything right now that we haven't talked about yet that lights you up and that you want to cover?
Something new that I'm launching is because I am working virtually. So my sessions are all conducted virtually at the moment. And cacao ceremonies are typically done in person, but I want to expand that even into people that I see virtually. Is that I'm now offering a package where I will do one hypnotherapy slash shamanic medicine healing session. Usually I incorporate them both together if the person's open to the energy healing as well. Some people aren't. And then
Hmm.
we can do just the hypnotherapy. That's fine. And then also they will receive cacao that's been infused with the intention of what it is that we're looking to resolve or get done or heal for them. And then they can receive that with instruction of how to prepare that in a ceremonial way so they can get these benefits. And as we know, decrease type 2 diabetes, lower their blood pressure. Cacao is great for also enhancing mood, as I'm sure you know. So it can be great for alleviating symptoms of depression
Yeah,
and anxiety because it has magnesium in it.
fantastic.
There's just so much good in
That's
that
very
plant
exciting.
medicine.
How can people get in touch with you if they would like to?
Go to modernmindmedicine.com. You can also find me on Instagram, also Modern Mind Medicine.
Cool. I'm putting that in the chat as we speak. And also putting my website or my YouTube channel as well, because my YouTube channel is where you're going to find this. If you would like to share it or if you would like to watch it again later. Um, just a couple of housekeeping notes here, really quickly. Coming soon on The Evolutionary, we are going to start something called Manifestation Stories, which was inspired by my love, Katie. Hello, Katie Fleetwood. She's on the call right here on her channel. She is having a bunch of conversations that are really cool about miraculous transformations where people come on and tell their stories. So that's what we're doing. If you have a manifestation story that is just full of synchronicity and intentions granted, I would love to hear about it, and maybe we can get on and have a conversation. That is coming on to the YouTube channel very soon. And you can go to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/, my handle is at the evolutionary life. You can also sign up to get notified for any shows that are coming up and be able to join those shows as well by going to theevolutionary.life. That's right, .life, because .com is so last season. That's theevolutionary.life/, well, actually go just to that and any page. literally any page, go to the bottom. There's a place to put in your deets and get onto the mailing list. And that is brings us to opening it up for some Q&A or for some discussion. If you have anything that you would like to talk with Genevieve about, a question or a comment or otherwise, please unmute yourself right now and let us know. This is the part where I've learned patience. And by the way, if we don't have anyone that would like to chat, come on to the screen live and talk with Genevieve. We can go into an activity. You want to do, do you want to do that? Did you come prepared to do an activity with us?
Sure, I can do an activity.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thank you, Frosty. There's
Thanks,
something
Frosty.
he's Frosty, there is something insightful and brilliant just on the tip of your brain. I can feel it. Well, we can launch straight into an activity, and then if that
Oh, I think
sparks,
someone has a question.
oh, yeah, go ahead.
I have a
Let's,
question. Genevieve, how many other people are there like you who are practicing the same mix of medicine for people who have issues in their lives? Are you kind of unique?
I I don't know if I know the full answer to that. There are people doing hypnotherapy and then also lots of shamanic practitioners as well and energy healers, but um, I don't know if anybody off the top of my head that's combining both, but that doesn't mean there isn't somebody. So because they are very relatable, you can combine them pretty easily. And actually, as I just answered that, I just thought I do know of one other person who does combine them, but she does past life regression hypnosis, which is a little bit different than what I do.
yeah, when you start mixing modalities like this, and there's so many to choose from, the the number of combinations that one could come up with is really vast.
Hmm.
So it would be interesting to find someone who did exactly what you did. It'd
Right,
be kind of pretty surprising to find
right,
that there were many.
right.
Thank you for your question. Daniel?
Yeah, thank you, Genevieve. A fantastic presentation. You
Oh,
had
thank you.
mentioned the use of smudging as a way
Hmm.
to rid oneself of bad spirits, I guess you could say. Do you still do that? Would you recommend smudging? What kind of practice do you think people should do regarding smudging?
That's a great question. I do still smudge. Um, it's it's something that can really shift the energy of your home and on your mood. You come home and you're in a bad mood, smudge yourself. So I use different plans depending on one, what work I'm doing. If I'm um, wanting to cleanse the energy, and we can call it negative energy, you could call it negative spirits, entities. It's just kind of your own interpretation of what that is. And so sage is probably one of the best go-tos because it releases and clears negative energy. Another one I really like to use is cedar because cedar doesn't just cleanse, but it also protects as well. It's not as available as sage, but you can still find it. And then if I'm working with cacao, I'll use copal. And that's because copal is indigenous to the areas where cacao is grown. And so I use those in conjunction as well. And so the idea of smudging, if we look back in pretty much all cultures, when you go into a church or if you go into a Buddhist temple, they're always burning some type of incense. I think in Catholic Church they burn frankincense. I'm not sure. It's frankincense or myrrh, but either way, it's the same concept of smudging. And it's to cleanse the space and raise the vibration, cleanse it of any negativity. So they're in that sacred, protected environment. So it is something that I would recommend. I would say do it, daily. Why not? Definitely your house once a week. Did that answer your question, Daniel?
Yes, very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
As you say that, I'm realizing that I'm here in my mom's house, right? I'm here caring for her, and there is 35 years worth of stuff and worth of experience and not a
Mm,
whole lot of care. And, it's kind of a hoarding situation. And I'm
mhm.
going, I should come in here with all of the smudging blaring. So I'm going out tomorrow
Yeah,
and getting some sage and some Palo Santo and some cedar and some copal and going
yeah.
to,
This
going to town
probably some stagnant energy in there too.
for sure.
That's another thing we want to move. We want to move stagnant energy.
Yeah.
Or if we have an argument in our house or somebody does, we want to clear that out. We don't want to hold on to that.
Yeah.
There's someone on the text has a question. Oceana,
Hmm. Oh, yeah. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
I
Can you
was
talk a
wondering
little
if
bit
you
about
could, I
yeah, go
was
ahead.
wondering if you could just say a little bit, Genevieve, about the process for someone that might be interested in becoming a practitioner of shamanic healing.
Sure. Great question. So, well, one, if you're feeling an interest or feeling called, um, be ready for a journey. First and foremost, it's not something that, um, it is a journey and a process, but a lot of teachers will also present to you. That's something that will happen if you have an interest. You'll start to see teachers kind of show up. But a good resource would be Michael Harner. He's based out of LA, I believe he used to be. And Michael Harner, and I think it's the Institute of Shamanic Healing. That's a good resource. Also, Alberto Villobo. Um, he has, drawing a blank on the name of his organization. It'll come to me, but Alberta Villobo is a good resource as well. Sangra Ingerman, she's written a lot of good books. So that might be somewhere to look for that information. And then you can begin to study with them. And there's different types of shamanic practitioner. There's South American, there's Native American, um, even the Celtic shamanism as well. So there's so many different genres, so many different modes of study that you could look into. So whatever you're feeling drawn to, or maybe what's within your ancestry, look for that.
And
Thank you.
Violdo
You're
is
welcome.
I think it's the Four Winds.
That's it, the Four Winds. Thank you.
Yeah, I found the website, I'll put it in there.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of great work right now.
I just read his book, Grow a New Body.
Hmm.
It's good stuff. It's
And what's
powerful.
great about him is he's combining research with the practices as well, because he's an anthropologist by trade and then got into this field. So he's really working with people to, like Joe Dispenza, to
Hmm.
show the science behind this as well.
Yeah.
Do we have a question from?
Reese, do you want to come on and chat?
Hey, yeah, sorry. It's a little bit of background noise.
Hi, Reese.
Yeah. Hey, good to see you. Yeah, I've been aware of kind of the pioneering research with plant medicines, and there's a lot of exciting insights there. But this kind of crossed my mind. Are you aware of any studies that kind of maybe pair the plant medicines with shamanic practices to kind of bring the whole thing full circle to its cultural starting point?
Mm. Off the top of my head, I'm not, but I know that there's a lot, especially right now. A good resource for that would be the map site. But there's a lot of research being done, especially on psilocybin right now. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I wish I had an actual name of somebody doing research on that, but I don't. Sorry about that.
No worries. Thank you.
This isn't research, but someone that I've been engaged with a few times and has been on the show this year is his name is Meta Nguyen, and metsaseries.com is his site, and he is a plant medicine practitioner and also a bona fide shaman that spent 15 years in the Peruvian Amazon with the Quechua Lamista people and the Shipibo, becoming a shaman. And he didn't go into he didn't go in there to become a practitioner. He went in there to heal and came out a practitioner. So, and he's also adopted by the Lakota. He's real deal.
Mm,
So metanuan.com. I'll put that in the notes as well, or metaseries.com.
great, thank you.
I had one question.
Okay.
Where do you buy the cacao from?
The cacao.
Cacao.
I source my cacao from farms in Guatemala. So it is ceremonial grade cacao, and it's grown indigenously to where the cacao grows. And
So
grown,
I'll jump up in with the follow-up question that may be
yeah,
hanging in the air, obviously, is that if someone would like to get their hands on some of that, would they go through you?
they could. Um, they can go to the
Okay.
modernmindmedicine.com, or um, there's actually a lot of cacao available right now. And it's really individual which one resonates with you and the effects that you like and what you're looking for.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to think of.
I also have a couple of sources for some really beautiful Arriba Nacional from Ecuador, single source stuff. So if that sounds appealing to you, I can connect you. Just reach out to me at david.knox@theevolutionary.life.
Great.
Seven o'clock. Look at that. Right on the button. I said we'd go a little over an hour. Do you want to, if there are no other questions, then do you want to take a few minutes and lead us through something
Sure. Yeah, I could do that.
as a way to
Yeah.
wrap up?
Yeah, I'll do a short process.
Okay, sounds
So,
wonderful.
so since I had mentioned heart brain coherence and how that's kind of fueling one of the things fueling, there's so many things, one of the things fueling this evolution into energy medicine and us connecting our heart to our mind. I can lead us through just a very short practice that helps us to build heart brain coherence. And why do you want your brain and your heart aligned? Coherence means aligned. Well, we hear people say, well, speak from the heart. We know our heart has its own cognition, its own brain. So we want them working together. We want the energy flowing to have more creativity, more energy, just more flow in life when they're working together. Be more successful in the things that we're actually wanting to happen, the things that we're interested in. So I'll lead you through a practice of connecting those. And this is something you can do on your own. So what we're going to do, and how about for fun, we put a little bit of hypnosis in it too. So,
Now we're
so we
talking.
can do that as well. I'm making this part up as I go with you. So adding this part along. But what we're going to do, just so you're prepared, is we're going to end up putting our hands on our heart, or one of your hands, because when we touch something or when we bring awareness to something, an area of our body, something in the world, a thought, then it actually expands. It gives it energy. So the best way to bring energy to our heart or awareness is to put our hand on it. And then we'll automatically be connecting. And so I'll have you do that in a moment. And then I'm going to ask you to connect your brain to your heart. I'll ask for your eyes to close at some point. And think of something that you've been wanting to either release from your life or bring into your life. It is the end of the year. We are in a full moon, so it's kind of a perfect energy to actually release something. So maybe think of something you want to release. If you release it, then that will remove the block so you can bring something in. So I'll give you all just a moment to think of what that is. Something that you don't need anymore. It's outdated. It's used up. It's waste. Doesn't serve you. Maybe it's a belief. Maybe it's a fear. Maybe it's an attachment to a person or a thing or a past hurt. Good. And then think of all that freed up energy, all that space that you're going to feel, all that invigorating energy that's going to be pulsing through your veins, your cells, your body, once that thing is released. And now go ahead and take your hands. You can open your eyes if you've closed them. David's already in it. Go ahead and rub your hands together. Create a little bit of heat. And then slowly begin to separate them and only go as far until you no longer feel the energy that you've created. Only go as far. Maybe you need to play with it a little bit. Play with that beautiful energy that you've just created between your hands. And once you've got it, hold it there and begin to play with it. And then focus your gaze between your hands. And playing with that energy, just focus your gaze between your hands. And if that energy, that beautiful, transformative, juicy energy had a color, what color would it be? And you know what color that energy is. This transformative, cleansing energy. And then focus your gaze between your hands. And as your eyes are focused, you may notice that there's a slight vibration in your hands. And this vibration, while unusual for most people to notice, is always present. And here you notice it now. And as you notice it, you become aware. And as you become more aware, the more you notice. And now that vibration begins to increase. You may notice small little jerks, movements, that's it, in your hands. Movements that you couldn't possibly be consciously making on your own. Which shows us that there's something deeper. And now you might notice that your eyes are blinking. And when your eyes blink, then your eyes close. And you know that when your eyes blink, your eyes do in fact close. And when your eyes close, your eyes rest. And now, as your eyes rest, you rest. And when you rest, you heal. You heal at the deepest level. And you remember that beautiful, beautiful, powerful, cleansing energy between your hand, and you know exactly what color it is. And now you can bring that energy into your heart as you place your hands on your heart, infusing all of that transformational energy into your heart. So hold your hands on your heart. And as that energy now radiates through your heart and now flows up, up to your mind, as mind and heart become aligned, beating as one. And now notice your breath. And you see that beautiful light connecting your mind, your heart. And with each exhale, you begin to release that thing that no longer serves you, that's used up, outdated, expired. And as you exhale, releasing with every breath, and then begin to feel grateful. Thank you to my body, which releases all that does not serve me. Thank you for my heart, which beats and radiates electricity. Thank you for this hand that I can place on my chest. My hand that allows me to wave to a friend or pet a nice friendly dog. Thank you for my favorite flower and its sweet, sweet scent. How it travels up my nose, into the back of my throat. Thank you. And thank you for the beauty of a sunset. Thank you for my eyes that allow me to gaze upon the light. And now, take a nice deep breath in. And with your next breath, make it the best yet as you fully release. And then take your time. And slowly begin to make your way back to our eyes can once again open. What did you notice, David?
Well, the video definitely will have captured my yawning multiple times, which I have enough experience with meditation to know that that's a deep meditation for me. When I am uncontrollably yawning, it's shifting it's releasing and and
Yes.
shifting, and I generally feel very, very different after I come out of that type of meditation. So that was super powerful.
Beautiful. Thank
The
you. I saw you yawning. Yeah. It's a purge. It
it is.
actually is purging of energy when we yawn. And so
Uh-huh.
it's getting rid of that old, DNA really, because it comes out in our breath. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
and the instances where I've had that happen have been some really interesting, unique experiences where I was in a position where I was about to go and do something public, and I had a meditation, and this happened several times, and went in really deep and had this purging, and then had actually a really good experience after that,
Mhm.
which was set up for by the purging without no intention of that happening. So it's very auspicious that that happened just now. So
Yeah,
thank you for that. That was really cool.
my
And also
pleasure.
the
Good
color was
job.
red that came to me, which is very interesting because I know that's the base chakra, and I've been
Hmm.
working in more of the orange and green area, but that's what it was, and so
Yeah,
that's what I gave it.
beautiful. And we have to do the root first because then it goes up,
Right,
so maybe, your inner wisdom, your inner mind, heart knows, has the key. And so
right,
that's
right,
why I have you come up with the color for that one, not me. You know,
right.
I
Yeah,
could
that was
assign one and it would be, good, but yours is perfect.
right.
And so,
Yeah, that was powerful. Thank you for that. Does anyone else
you're
want to share?
welcome. They're all asleep.
Yeah,
Maybe they didn't come back.
right. Well, I think it is appropriate that we wrap up. We're at about almost an hour and 15 minutes, which is about what we forecasted. So I would like to say thank you so much to everyone who got on the call with us. And thank you, Genevieve, for bringing your wisdom and your light to the call. This has been really super impactful and powerful. And if you guys want to see this,
My
see the
pleasure.
recording, it will be on YouTube. Again, my handle is at The Evolutionary Life. You can go on YouTube and check that out. It'll be up within 24 hours, I'll say. Maybe tonight. We'll see. I have plenty of cacao in my blood, so
That's
that
true.
that might just happen tonight. But you can go on there and view it and share it and all of that stuff. And again, if you want to get a hold of Genevieve, modernmindmedicine.com is the place to go, and she's a contact page there. You can reach out to her there as well.
So, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, David.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. I will say that, Genevieve, I'll ask you to hang on after everyone jumps so that we can have a debrief. And with that, I would say thank you so much for joining. This has been The Evolutionary. My name is David Knox, and I'll talk to you next time.